We say hello to our insiders again, Darren Dreger, Pierre, LeBrun, and Frank Seravalli. As we sit and wonder, and the NHL continues to ponder how they will finish the season, if and when they can. Pierre, is there a favorite format that is emerging?
Well, I think what's starting to happen is perhaps some momentum. Now, what's happened this week is Monday on the Board of Governors call, James, Gary Bettman, I'm told, said that, listen, 16 teams, 20 teams, or 24 teams are all options for a playoff format at this point. Now, again, on Wednesday, in the return to play committee call, I'm told that 16, 20, and 24 were, again, talked about as options. But of those three, from talking to people around the league, both on the team side and also on the player side, 24 teams seems to be gathering a bit of traction, the idea of a playoff format with 24 teams. Now, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I spoke to some people who said, well, suddenly 24 teams, that means you bring in Montreal on the eastern side, you bring in Chicago on the west, the two 12th place teams. Those two teams were sellers at the trade deadline, and now you're inviting them in potentially to a playoff play-in. It's not for everyone. There's going to be debate right to the end here, but what we're really seeing is the idea that after really, really wanting to play out the regular season and involving all 31 teams, that perhaps those bottom 7 teams who clearly wouldn't have a lot of motivation to come back and play some regular season games and then shut it down again might be discarded, which would be just fine with them. But again, let me stress, nothing is decided. These are just the conversations that are being had between both sides this week.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that conversation, Pierre, you're right. And you could easily adopt a play-in format that trims 24 down to the traditional 16 playoff teams. And by doing that, you don't have regular season games. You have 3 to 6 play-in games, and that means you can get through the process more quickly. And the reasoning behind that would be the preparation for a second wave of COVID-19. If the NHL once again has to shut down in September, maybe October, maybe drift into November, there's a built-in break, and then they reset and get going on the 2020-21 season again as late as December. Now, the other issue here that the Players Association and the NHL are working through is, what is testing going to look like? How is this all going to work? Who is going to be tested? How many tests are going to be required? I mean, it could be a mammoth number of tests that are needed by the NHL and the NHLPA. And how quickly can you turn those test results around? So testing right now, guys, is an open issue for sure.
And how much will it cost? Frank, you talked about the financial toll on Tuesday, but all these expenses, is it worth bringing it back considering there won't be fans in the stands if they do?
Well, that's going to be the key question moving forward, a cost-benefit analysis that the NHL and NHLPA have undergone. Look, when you talk about testing, 2 teams told me today that it could cost up to $20 per test to have a player or staff member tested. The question is how many teams are going to be involved when you start to do this math, how many people are going to need to be tested, how often. If it's daily, it's pretty easy to see these tests wind up in the millions, if not tens of $millions to conduct. And then in addition to that, how much does it cost to sanitize the locker rooms, the arenas that you're going to need to play in? So teams were telling me $1,500 per dressing room to be sanitized per day. They're still trying to figure out how the rest of the facility would need to be sanitized, but these are all mounting expenses. So far to this point, the NHL has determined that the juice would be worth the squeeze, but we'll see as these continue to add up.
One more big piece of news today, confirmed. Happy birthday, Frank, the silver-haired millennial, getting up there.